everyone. This is Western Muerto Buddha, and I wanted to talk to you guys about something that I've been thinking about for a while now. And okay, everybody keeps saying this, or at the very least, some people are noticing this. So, we all know, basically, the U.S. is becoming either more so a third world country, if not a failed state, and parts of Europe are also becoming the same thing, Saigon. But Japan and South Korea are also experiencing very much the same thing. And I wondered to myself, okay, or as everybody says too, is like, why is this happening? Like, why are first world nations experiencing the exact same thing? Insecurities in their economies, as well as government corruption. And I kept thinking to myself, like, why is that happening? Like, there's gotta be something deeper than just, people just don't want to do their fucking job, or they don't know how to do government shit. But then that's when it hit me. I thought to myself, wait a minute. Well, are these governments designed to fail? And the more I thought about it, the more I kind of realized, like, that's an interesting, question that I asked myself, because I've been looking more into Native American societies, and Haudenosaunee, or the Ewoks. They've had basically a government structure for almost 1,000 years. It's said. And I wonder to myself, wait a minute, why is it that we live in the most, advanced societies, and yet our governments are shit? But then when you look at, past societies, their government structure lasted for like over thousands of years. I mean, hundreds of years, or whatever you want to say. So I truly thought to myself, wait a minute, are these governments designed to fail? And I also want to ask the question, do Anglo-White and white Europeans create poorly structured governments?
1949 and 1961.
Oh, I'm so sorry. But here's Maximonix. I think he basically kind of answers my question in its entirety.
2.7 million East Germans from Berlin and the rest of East Germany exit Soviet-occupied Germany through this one open seam, stepping over the line between East and West Berlin. The most disturbing part to the Soviets is half of them are under 25. Doctors, engineers, teachers. The East loses a quarter of its physicians. That many people does not go unnoticed. It was quite obvious to everyone at this point. So 12 years after the last plane of the airlift landed, East Germany's leader holds a press conference. A journalist asks about rumors of a border closing. His answer: nobody has the intention of building a wall. The journalist didn't ask about a wall. Nobody had asked about a wall. He introduced the word himself. A Freudian slip, as he certainly knew what would happen 59 days later. I've used Zapier for over 5 years, but the latest way I'm using it has made my whole team faster. It is a small team. Everyone's building their own. Thank you to Zapier for sponsoring this video. Let's start all in one night. No wall when the sun went down. Wake up and there's a wall running 96 miles through the center of the city and wrapping around the edges of West Berlin, cutting it off from East Berlin and the East German countryside. The concrete came within a week. We've all seen a wall, but this one, everything they built, the guard towers, the dog runs, the tripwires, all of it faces inward. So now, our two imaginary grocery stores are real, and they're 20 minutes apart. East side, the Kafala at Leninplatz carries about 3,000 items, one of each, not yellow mustard and spicy mustard, one mustard. West side, Bala, one of 120 in West Berlin, about 7,000 items, competing with 3 other chains, including what would become today's Aldi. The West side, it's a normal market. People buy things. The price of those things is set by the store. If they don't sell or more than normal sells, the store manager will adjust their next order. The East side is a much more interesting story. What you're about to see and hear is exactly how the economy was planned for Berlin and the Soviet Union as a whole, using historical documents going from the top to the bottom. The decision for what goes into the East Side grocery begins 1,000 miles away in Moscow, where the head of the Soviet Communist Party is located. The word Politburo you might have heard before. This is it. The head of the party, the Politburo, a committee of 11 men, sets the priorities for all of the Soviet Union for the next 5 years. What do we want for our population? How should we prioritize the military? Are there any industries we want to develop? Are there any we would like to shut down? Many big decisions, all written down in the official 5-year plan. And it's a beast. It's huge, hundreds of pages long. The 5-year plan is then handed to the State Planning Commission. 3,000 people in that commission map it all out in physical units. This much grain becomes this much flour, becomes this many loaves of bread, 2,000 commodities. Grain, coal, gravel, glass, everything is balanced in a ledger with the explicit goal of ensuring fairness in the spirit of from each according to their ability to each according to their contribution. But early on, the Politburo realized that if they just handed things out, here's your pair of shoes, here's your bread for the week, the people would feel like medieval peasants, as terrible for morale, and more importantly, terrible for getting people to work. Somebody still needs to make the bread. So the State Planning Commission was also in charge of deciding how much people should be paid. So they create the ledger of stuff to make and the wage scale, which simply divides the entire workforce into 8 broad pay bands. The lowest worker earning $2.50 per hour, the highest earning $7. You could not earn more and you could not earn less. And here's where it's easy to feel lost. You're giving people wages, which is money, which means you're going to buy something with that money. But everything is kind of free. What do you spend this money on? Okay, so there must be prices in this system. It has to be prices. Okay, if there are prices.
And that's something that I've been thinking about too, is that maybe we shouldn't really have a price on everything. But, I guess I just want to say that, I'll get into it more so later on, because I kind of want to create a little series of me structuring a government, how I would have people live within, I guess you can say, the country that I want to create.
How is the price of a loaf of bread decided? Enter the Office of Prices. That's its real name. They are handed the ledger of stuff to make and the wage scale. With the wage scale, they can see how much in total wages will be paid. Here's our entire workforce. Here's how much it will be paid. They can also see how much total stuff will be made. With all that data, the Office of Prices would ask questions like, how much should a family of 4 spend on bread? It should be cheap, not more than 1% of the lowest earning worker. If the lowest earning worker earns 1,000 Deutschmarks in a month, and the ledger says they get 10 loaves of bread in a month, then a loaf of bread should be 1 Deutschmark. Asking this kind of question over and over until all their numbers added up in a way that balanced how much people were paid in wages against what the plan had said each person was allotted. Milk, furniture, car tires, gasoline, medicine, every price was tagged, stamped on, or even engraved into the thing before it left the factory. The price was simply the price. It was not set based on anything other than deciding how much of a thing a person should need in a year, and then how much of that person's pay should be used to buy it. All right, so with prices set.
See, okay, I want you to take that part right there that he just said. Let me go back to it.
In a year, and then how much of that person's pay should be used to buy it. All right, so with prices should price, it was not set based on anything other than deciding how much of a thing a person should need in a year, and then how much of that person's pay should be used to buy it. All right.
See what I mean? That's why low-key I'm starting to think that maybe we shouldn't even have prices on everything at all, because that's what you're supposed to think, oh, this is what you're supposed to need, right? But that's just another way of how we basically have this consumerism society, and you're not just paying for the necessities, but you're also paying for bullshit that you don't really or I shouldn't say bullshit, but the convenience that have now become inconvenient or very inconvenient is now pricing you up the ass.
So with prices set, the Office of Prices hands everything over to East Germany's Ministry of Trade and Supply. They take it and assign quotas and allotments across the region's 15 districts. Berlin is the 15th district. You have this many people, you get this much. The bakery here makes this much bread, so you get this much flour. Everything is signed to a physical location. The state bakeries in the 15th district get flour delivered on a truck. They bake bread with it, put that bread on a truck, and the manager of the grocery store unloads the truck. They unload the truck with whatever arrives. The outcome of this experiment can be highlighted in many ways. By the time the wall came down, the East Berlin grocery store still had about 3,000 items, while the West ones pushed towards 10,000. The big markets cleared 15,000. But the clearest outcomes show up in two very different parts of life. By the time the Berlin Wall came down, the wait time for either of the two cars you could buy was over 10 years. The main car you could buy in East Berlin, the Trabant, was the exact same car the state-run auto company produced at the time the wall went up. Same materials, about the same engine, no upgrades for over 30 years. Used ones went for more than new ones because people didn't want to wait 10 years. West Berlin, on the other hand, had dozens of cars and you could buy one same day. And then there was health. Over that same 30 years, these neighbors, friends,
I won't deny the health is pretty fucked up. It's kind of sad.
family who shared a city, they breathed the same air, had the same genetics. Those in East Berlin had a life expectancy 2.5 to 3 years shorter than West Berlin. It's well documented, deeply studied. Within 10 years of the wall being torn down, East and West being unified, 1989 to 1999, the gap completely erased. Those in East Berlin had the exact same life expectancy as those in the West. What's not clear to me today, though, is if this is what people mean when they talk about socialism, this true top-down kind of society. That's not what Nordic countries are. Sweden, Norway, Finland, they're free markets. Prices are set by the grocery store owner. The government then collects a lot of tax on everyone, not just the wealthy. Businesses can hire and fire at will. There's nothing different about their capitalism than a place like the US. But there's a massive safety net funded by taxes. If you did it in the US, the average income here is about $70,000. So in Denmark, if you make 1.5 times more than the average, you pay about 54% in total taxes. So that would be an income of about $105,000 here. Everybody is taxed. But the means of production are most definitely not owned by the government, the people. In fact, the Nordic countries intentionally set themselves up like this. They watched what happened in the early part of the Russian Revolution. We're like, no, we're not going to do that. So we've never seen a true socialist system of any size really fulfill the ideas laid out by Marx. We've seen a very real dedicated effort to do it, but they've all ended up at about the same spot. So why hasn't it worked? Stalin, 29 years. For leaders of socialist systems is over 15 years. Longer if you look at the ones who were ruling for a long time but died in office, like Hugo Chavez. Blame the person, yes, these men were not good people, but there have been no truer words spoken than these. Play the clip.
The basic rule on incentives is you get what you reward for.
A center that decides where everything goes. It is the ultimate place of power a human can be stationed, directing the flow of calories, electricity, medicine. So much power radiating out from one point changes the incentives of everybody in the system. The manager of the East Berlin grocery store has no reason to care what customers actually want. If the store runs out of milk by 10 a.m., the manager doesn't lose a dime. In fact, fewer customers means less work. Croissants are incredibly time-consuming to make, layer by layer just right, otherwise they don't puff. The bakery is much better off having dense, thick loaves of bread that take a fifth of the time to make and fill their quota faster. They have no other bakery to compete with for customers, so no consequences. And the truck driver moves weight, not loaves of bread. Gravel, nails, bricks, machinery will all be moved before bread because the faster the quota is filled, the faster the driver can be done. Why would you work any longer than you have to? Because the planning board has said what you will be paid. Doing better is just more work that doesn't come with a reward. And the 3,000 people in the planning commission, they just want to be told the quotas they assigned were hit. Last thing the chief of the commission wants to do is tell the Politburo they made a mistake. It's all downside. If you get fired, what other planning commission is there to work for? And the people in the very top really don't want to hear the area they're responsible for isn't working anyway. So much power is concentrated at the top, and there's no way to get there except for someone to select you to the post that a weakness in your area is someone else's political ammunition to have you removed. So a very, very small group of people ends up running the system. And they run it blindly because no one brings them problems, because why would they? Unless, of course, that person is trying to move up the system. In which case, that's a threat for those occupying one of those few spots at the top. You should probably get rid of that person so they can't make any more noise and install someone who tells you everything is going well. So the leader...
Okay, I should probably stop it right there, but basically, I mean, he literally just said it himself, like, this wasn't even socialism. You know, like, he's trying to basically critique socialism, but failed to understand that what he was just describing was oligarchy. If not asshole Europeans being assholes to other Europeans. And I think I might have like skipped a little bit too much, but basically what I was trying to say too is what I've noticed in the video was that earlier, so West Berlin, which was occupied by the Allies, and then East Berlin, which was occupied by the Soviet Union, they had different grocery stores. And what he was saying was like, oh yeah, one had basically more of a menu within the grocery store than the other one. And I thought to myself, okay, why the fuck does that matter? Why the fuck do people even want more of a list of how many fucking eggs there are in one area? And that's kind of when it hit me a while back, where I was watching a video from the beautiful Barry. One of my favorite quotes from her was, "You're not even after the gold. You're after what the gold represents, the status that it has." I mean, that's basically another way of saying, yo, these people were fucking greedy. You know, like I'm sorry to say, but what else is there? Like, it's definitely one of those like, hey, I go to fucking Erwang, and you know they have all this nice shit, but then it's like, okay, well, how much of it do you like buy from? Like, what do you buy from there? It's like, not really, none of that. You know, I just buy the usual. But it's because it's like this like prestige, super expensive like place. It's like, oh, look at me, I have status. Oh, look at me, I went to a grocery store that has a shit ton of different brands of eggs, shit ton of different brands of bread that, you know, I don't really buy. I just buy the one that I like. And so it even goes back to what he was just complaining about too, where like, oh well, the 3,000 guys, they were like, oh well, just make one single loaf of bread and everybody will get that. You know, it's laziness. Is basically what I'm trying to say. It's a lazy structure of leadership. And so it's like, yeah, no shit, it's not gonna fucking work out, because I think early in the video he even said it himself, where it was like, okay, how do we not make these people feel like they're peasants, but low key they are peasants? And that to me just explained it all. Like, yeah, like this video is basically fucking stupid and trying to critique socialism, because at the end of the video it's basically him just calling out that, yeah, Europeans are being assholes to each other at this time. It's like, yeah, no fucking shit, bro. And the reason why I brought this up was because that whole thing of like structure and like, you know, greed. I'll talk about greed more in a later video, but the structure is something that I really wanted to really mention, because I think a lot of nations now more than ever are structured in a very European sense. I mean, you have greedy assholes back then treating people like peasants. So of course people are gonna be like, you know, they know they're fucking poor, but they just don't want to acknowledge it. You know, because their government is, you know, low-key like I've always said this, is like every government hates their own people. And I'm pretty sure everybody feels that way. And let me show you what I mean by government structures. Indigenous American history. The Mayan civilization maintained the longest running political system spanning over 2,000 years through independent kingdoms, followed by the Ewoks Confederacy, which has operated a continuous I cannot pronounce this word, participatory, right?
Participatory.
Oh, I said it right. Participatory. Oh, shit. Democracy for over 600 to 800 years. By contrast, the central empires of the Aztec and the Inca were highly powerful but remarkably short-lived, lasting only 1 to 2 centuries before Spanish contact. And here's more of it. I forgot about the Powhatan chieftain. We can, and this is another way of two. So dozens of independent kingdoms sharing a common culture. The earliest dynastic kingdoms formed around 3000 BCE, and last independent Maya kingdom did not fall to the Spanish until 1697. Oh fuck! Come on now. Administrative hierarchy beneath the king was the noble governors who ruled smaller subordinate towns and collected taxes. Council of priests, and military advisors asserted the king in matters of state, agricultural planning, and ritual warfare. The great law of peace. They forgot to put law, but anyways, yeah. The Ewoks, they took the Great Law of Peace, their constitution, into the U.S. Constitution. Like Benjamin Franklin kept on talking to these guys in order to like basically help create the Constitution of the U.S. The Grand Council, governed by a representative council of 50 hereditary, chiefs. Yeah, decisions required absolute unity. God damn it! How do you pronounce this?
Unanimity
among all nations, emphasizing consistency over majority rule. Right? Consensus. Oh, consensus. This is just basically like women had power back in the day with Native Americans. Society was organized into maternal clans. Clan mothers held veto power. They selected the male chiefs and could dispose them if they failed the people. Feudalism, individual nations managed their own internal domestic affairs, while the Grand Council held foreign policy, treaties, and internal tribal peace. Powhatan paramount chiefs, known natively as this political entity, was rapidly forged in the late 16th century by a single leader, Powhatan. It expanded from 6 original core tribes to 30 tribes by the time Jamestown was established. Paramount chief held absolute authority over life and death and resource distribution. Sub-chiefs, each individual tribe was led by a male chief or female chief. Powhatan frequently placed his own relatives or loyal enforcers into these leadership positions. Tribute economy. Conquered tribes retained their internal leaderships but were forced to pay a heavy tribute amounting to roughly 80% of their corn, furs, and copper to the, I do not know what that is, who redistributed it to maintain political leverage. Aztec, triple alliance between the city-state of Tenochtitlan, Texcoco, and Tlacopan rapidly became the dominant partner, ruling central Mexico until its fall to Hernan Cortez. Emperor, great speaker. The emperor was chosen by a council of nobles, priests, and military leaders from the royal lineage. He held supreme executive, military, and religious power. Tribute hegemony. The Aztecs did not directly integrate conquered territories. Instead, they left local rulers in power on the condition that they regularly sent the luxury goods, foods, and captives for ritual sacrifice to Tenochtitlan. Internal administration. Cities were divided into neighborhood districts governed by local elders, which managed farming lands and local temples and schools. Inca Empire. Kingdom of Cusco transformed into a massive Inca under the rule of, can I pronounce that? It was the largest empire in pre-Columbian history, but was dismantled by the Spanish and internal civil war by 1533. Emperor Sapa Inca, regarded as the direct descendant of the sun god. He was absolute, a monarch with total divine right over all land and citizens. The empire was divided into 4 quarters, each ruled by a royal governor. These quarters were further segmented into bureaucratic units based on decimal systems, groups of the this system, rather than paying monetary taxes, every able-bodied citizen owned labor to the state. This labor built a massive 25,000-mile highway network and transformed data bureaucracy. Because they lacked in alphabet, royal officials monitored taxes, census, populations, and food stockpiles using equips integrated color-coded knotted strings. And I know a lot of people are gonna be like saying like, oh well, this doesn't sound that different from feudalism from Europe. Which, I mean, from a very basic point of view, yeah, I definitely agree. But like I said, I believe that a lot of people are going to start looking into Native American history, and they're gonna be asking themselves, or at the very least telling others, maybe we should live similar to like how these people lived. Have leaders like these people had leaders. Here is a total of like how their civilizations lasted. Mayans 3,000, Ewoks. It's like I said, plus we don't really know. Close to 200 years, close to 300 years, and then Powhatan tribe. And I also want to like just say to you, everybody's gonna think like, oh look, it didn't last that long because look what happened, it collapsed or whatever. Well, to be completely honest with you, the only reason why it collapsed is because of the colonial era happened, and a lot of history, it was erased. Like you gotta take that into account. A lot of there's records during the colonial era that they were quite literally erasing history. And so a lot of these civilizations could be like plus 200, plus 70. This Powhatan chieftain probably was 100 years. Inca might have been a 400 years. And then the Ewoks Haudenosaunee Confederacy, it's said to have been 1,000 years. So a lot of these tribes were there for a lot longer than we realize or even know. And let's see, slowly conquered by the Spanish over generations. Distant political power lasted until the late 1700s, but the Confederacy still survives today. See? Capital city destroyed by the Spanish conquistadors and indigenous allies. Remnants crushed after the fall of the Neo-Inca state. Dissolved as a paramount chieftain following the Anglo-Powhatan Wars. So, and these were pretty socialist societies. Everybody had a chance to move up in life. Of course, the Mayans were a little bit more strict with their slaves, but still, everybody had a way to level up in life. Hell, even the Ewoks literally created a game to prevent wars from happening within their own city-state. It's truly fascinating cultural practices that they did. That makes me really wonder, is there a way we can settle conflicts just by playing sports with each other rather than dropping bombs on each other? But That's besides the point. I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyways, I gotta go to bed. Peace.